Okay. Hi, Leo. This one is for you. That's you, Leo. This is Tarot Lumination with your general report for November 2017. Okay. We're just going to dive in. Not a lot of preamble. No jumpers, flyers, oracles, reversals. You're going to watch for your sun, moon, and rising. You know the drill. You've done it before. And then reinterpret to suit yourself. By the way, if you're interested in the Silk Scarf raffle ticket, there's a button up here on the screen. It's like a little white button. Hopefully it'll be there and you can press that. That'll take you to the raffle. Okay, so cards were well shuffled in advance, but we're going to the last second so that you are a witness. All right, let's have a look here. We're going to cut in just a moment. All right, Leo, are we ready? Yes, we are. All right, here we go. I call this a journey of the heart spread, okay? This would be your core heart energy, the very, very core center of you, not your consciousness, not your thoughts, your feelings, your fears, your shadows, or your excitement or your activities. This is just the pulsing heart. This is your legacy energy. This is like history or baggage, whatever you want to call it. This is the ever present now as you're moving through this time period called November and so on. And this would be the energy of, wow, okay, I'm a live, living, sentient being. I have to make decisions as I move forward. That's here, okay? And this is the energy of like, way, how are we going to do this effectively and safely so that you don't come unglued and you don't mess up for other people too. So what is most loving for you? Because that's what's most loving for everyone else. And then this would be the energy of understanding how your decisions turn into like your reality, create your reality. Or if you don't feel that way about life, uh, in other words, like life happens to you and then you react, then this would feel more like fate. But anyway, that's your choice. So over here, this would be the energy of joys and sorrows and like, what if? You know, when you make decisions, you're facing risks into the unknown. Like, what if it works? What if I make a good decision? Wow, what if I mess up? I make a poor decision. Oh no. And this would be the momentum of all of that. Okay. So that's the journey here. Can you see that? There's a heart. I'm trying to make it look like a heart for you. Okay. Sort of, kind of like, you know. So there you go. And that's you at the very, very core, okay? A pulsing living being, okay? Under here, this is the energy surrounding you, the whole thing. This is Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so this is like weather. You're just like a farmer. You're going to make the best of it. So with the Ace of Pentacles surrounding you right now, it's an indication that you have a really good opportunity to make a new start in life, in new ways, in certain areas, certain categories of life, in ways that work for you, where it's tangible, where it actually works out in ways that you can really feel it and own it. You know, perhaps like with jobs or careers or getting new qualifications, skills, and incorporating new talents into your way of being. Okay? And then running with it, making the best of it, exploiting it in a good way. Exploitation isn't a bad word. It means I feel it's like making the best of something. Okay? So that's nice to have around you. Okay, Leo? What's going on at the core? So you have the King of Swords. So it might be, Leo, um, there's a bit of fullness of self here that I'm feeling where, I mean, because Leo, you understand right now that, you know, you're under that huge, uh, let's say that big fire triangle right now, that big trine, which is putting a lot of pressure on Leo people to really evolve, step into their true light like never before. And it's very easy for Leos to get carried away with themselves in that regard, without even knowing it, without causing, you know, any harm to anyone. But because it's such strong energy, it's so strong. And so with the King of Swords here, it could indicate that, yeah, you might be in a position like deep in your heart where It's almost like you feel you are right and that you are justified to be right and you have the right to be right at all points in time, where like you are the ultimate arbiter of truth and how things should be and how they are going to be and how they will always be. And the thing is about this, I feel like this is personalized, where it's almost like you're running away with yourself. So once you, it's like, you know, when you're evolving and growing and you start to get it and you think, wow, this is so cool. And then you start to think, wow, like it's just you making it all happen, and you lose track of that. It's like there's a whole bigger thing going on out there where you're part of this wonderful like divine thing that we call life, where we're all swimming in the same pool together. I feel here where with the King of Swords energy, this is you, like as you come into grips and full ownership of your own awesomeness. It's like you're starting to see it as though it's all your own doing, and then getting carried away with that to the point where uh, you can now call the shots in any way, any time, any shape, however you want, without being questioned. So that's like taking on the role of authority and being the authority, but also to the point of being an authoritarian, okay, which can be alienating to some people. So all I'm feeling here is that there's such a strength here, and it's good strength for Leo. It's just that it might be going onto the very tippy edge of crossing over from being a very, very noble authority of truth and justice and an arbiter and a person who really understands and who's very good at being there for other people to help them solve their problems. But it could also verge on blah, 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 author, author, authoritarianism. Sorry about that, Leo. So let's have a look. What are you bringing in with you? Okay. Well, obviously, you feel that you've got it all and you have, let's say, everything that you need. And perhaps you've been really, really diligent over the past, where you've been socking it away. Maybe you've like worked your way up the ladder and built like a world around yourself that isn't just all about you, but it's good for everybody. It's like you might be a really like magnanimous, generous person just by your normal Leo nature, and you love sharing that with your loved ones. Okay, and that's good. That's really, really good. So you're bringing that with you, and it's very, very valuable to have going forward. Okay, I'm really happy for you, Leo. And probably others are very happy to have you in their life, in their world too, in that way, if this is what you're bringing forward with you, because that would include everybody else too. You might be one of those people that, you know, everybody loves. Just like when you show up, it's just like, oh, I'm so glad you're here, because we know it's going to be good if Leo shows up. That's awesome. But we've just started the journey. Let's have a look. Time is unfolding, and Jupiter in Scorpio is here, and it's going to like affect all of us in one way or another. And of course, you're dealing with the Leo North Node transit anyway. So you've got a lot on your plate, Leo. Let's have a look. Again, opportunities. Okay, do you see how these work together here? Taking what you've got already and turning it better, making it into something even better. Okay, let's have a look. What about the ever-present now? However, with the Page of Cups here, it can indicate that, like it or not, there might be a certain degree of naivety and innocence in certain matters, particularly matters of the heart. And despite all this nobility and sovereignty of self and being in a position of authority where you are highly respected, and it's very evident around you, like you might be very deeply loved and respected in your community. Um, Nevertheless, there might be this, these, let's say, wishes here of like, I wish I knew more. I wish I could have more, be more, especially when it comes to something that where there may be some lack. In other words, you might have an opportunity for love to unfold in your life in ways that you've never known before, because this has, like, say, been everything that you've known up to life up to now. And then realizing, wow, there is more. It isn't all just about grandeur and substance and respect and dignity and being part of this, like, let's say, it's almost like the Aquarian South Node energy, part of that being part of the community where you are loving and you are loved uh, in ways that are substantial. But this is indication more to do with deep heart energy, almost to the point of romance, where you might realize that it's like like maybe it's almost like you've been missing the point for so long, where there's so much more to be learned about love that you didn't know already. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a realization like, whoa, coming into November, uh-oh, wait a minute. Like I've got all this going on, and yet part of me is actually, if you're honest with yourself, Leo, there might be a high degree of innocence here that is going to become more and more apparent as we go through the month. But that's a good thing, because that's what maybe what we need to focus on here in order to evolve and grow in being more loving and being more loved. Okay, so that involves making decisions about how you move along through this time period. What are the decisions that you're going to make on a day-to-day basis so you can take full advantage and make the best of this really strong, noble energy here in a way that really works for you and everyone else? Okay, so that means basically going for it. Just absolutely going for it and expressing yourself very, very openly. You might have a lot to say that's been buried for a long time, and it's about time it became expressed. You might have like a serious love interest. You might have a big crush on somebody or something, and it's coming to the surface. And you may not be used to dealing with this kind of energy in this kind of way, but it's there and it needs to be expressed. It needs to come out, but it needs to be expressed, let's say, in ways that are very actually, this would be like in alignment with your natural self anyway. Passionate, expressive, vibrant, and full of best of intentions, okay? Uh, Noble intentions here for what's best for everybody. In other words, you only have there's a lot of, I feel that there's a lot of self-interest here about what works for you and how things could be made in such a way that could be even better for you, which would hopefully amplify this and be better for everyone. But it could also be the energy of being a bit carried away with oneself and acting more in self-interest. So I'm just being a little cautious here. I'm adding that. I'm not trying to judge you or, uh, you know, demean you in any way, Leo. All I'm suggesting here is that there's a lot of passionate energy here to move on and grow and evolve in ways on these new subject matters, which you might have neglected for quite a while, but it's time to go for it, and you're going for it. We just want to make sure that we don't destabilize this wonderful energy and foundation that you're already coming in with. Now, if it does destabilize, that's not a problem. It's part of the evolution. We'll see. So how are we going to get all this passionate expression that needs to come out of you? How are we going to do that effectively without blowing everything up? Or are you turning into an I can't say it, authoritarian? Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so with the Nine of Pentacles here, my feeling is that to move forward effectively and safely in a way that's good for you and good for others, it's really, really important to, let's say, take account of everyone in this equation, okay? Every single person in your world around you right now, it's really, really important to see them as very like vivid characters who are like living through a Shakespearean play with you. You're the leading role in this play, and you have every right to be you, up to the point of taking it to the, you know, a, a little bit above and beyond being the authority. You know, I don't want to keep using that word because I can hardly say it, but understanding that every decision that you make, however you do it, is going to have an impact on everyone else. And it's very, very important to make these decisions, to understand that everyone else in your community, your life, your world, who already loves you and who you already love, they are actually individuals. They are highly individuated in their own right, and they have every right to be that way, and they need to be respected and honored in that way. And the same goes for yourself too. It's very, very important when making decisions that you're really, really true to yourself, that you walk the talk. And if you're going to act and behave and be this very noble, judicious character who symbolizes, like, you know, uh, uh, like noble ways of being, that has to be acted out in ways that are, you have to be true to yourself in the most noble, magnanimous way, not the overblown or over indulgent ways that could possibly happen here because you've got so much abundance with you already. It could be easy to, like, like get over the top and take that all for granted and think you have the right to do anything anytime you want for anybody, like complete supremacy of power, which is actually abuse of power. Okay, so it's very easy for you to overstep yourself at this period of time, Leo. And so we have to be cautious because everyone else has a right to be themselves in their full glory and their full independence, just like you. Okay? And this is not to demean you, Leo. This is to say that, um, like, with the value that exists in your world already, they love you because of who you are. But if it goes over the top, then it becomes corrosive and starts to, you know, undermine or undervalue the situation. So it's important moving forward that as much as you want to desire to express your new ways of being and kind of evolve and grow, perhaps in love and life in general, it's really, really important that it's about honor. It's about real honor and respect. In other words, someone else might have a completely different opinion of the situation or how your expressions are arriving in their life, in their world, and that they have a right to maintain their independence and integrity and their own truth, just like you do, in ways that are very tangible, because it's like they are part of that. And if you want to make the best of what you've got already, it's very important to live and let live. Really, seriously, live and let live here. Um, Instead of calling all the shots all the time like an authoritarian, it's allowing yourself to be you, expand and grow and express who you are in a safe, loving environment where everyone else is allowed to be themselves too. They get to shine. They get to be their own glorious, wonderful selves, okay? And even carve out their own independence if they need to. Okay. In fact, it could be even more noble for you, Leo, to encourage your loved ones to strike out on their own independent ways, just like you would like to do as well. In other words, as you give, so shall you receive. In other words, if you really, really want to be that authority, like I would, like, say I'm the Leo, like I am the Leo, I want you to be this awesome new version of yourself because that's how I want to be too. So I want to live that life just as much as you want to live that life. I bless you, I honor you, and in fact, I will support you. I will help you in your path to independence, and I love you for being part of uh, my world already. Thank you very, very much. So go for it. Live and let live. It's like being the noble leader who is brought up and raised a family and said, it's time for you, dear flock, to go and live your own lives. I bless you. If you need me, I'm there for you. I'll answer any questions. I am here for you, but it's time for you to be you. And I support you. That's the most loving way for me to be for you guys right now, because that's how I want to be for myself. Thank you very much. All right. So what does that nurture? What does that bring to you? Okay. It puts you, okay, with the hangman here, it could almost put you unwittingly without realizing you've done it. It puts you in a spot where you realize, like, by hovering right on the very, very tippy edge of being the noble authority, almost to the point of having to deliberately restrain yourself from becoming the authoritarian, it puts you in this awkward limbo, out of whack balance phase, because Leos love to lead. And one of the most effective leaders you can have is a monarch, but it's a good monarch. Let's put it that way. Monarchies. In the energy of monarchies, which hardly exist on Earth anymore, there's a reason for that. Monarchies today are more symbolic than actual. Like in most places, a lot of places now have these so-called things, democracies, where you have group decision making, where there's an elected leaders who get there through merit. And whereas with a monarchy, it's like it's an automatic power grab or an ownership, and there's no question about it. And the beauty of monarchy, when it works well, it's the best thing, because a really good loving monarch just does whatever has to be done for his world, his people, their world, her people. But on the other hand, there's nothing worse than an oppressive monarch who goes berserk with their power and exploits their power for their own gain at the expense of their world and their community. And so it could be, Leo, that you're tipping on the edge of that. As you come into your own new awesomeness, you're realizing how easy it could be for you to exploit your awesomeness for self-gain. And that's disorienting. It's not something that you would want in your most noble heart intentions, your most loving self. And yet we have to contend with that during this November period, where it's important to understand that, Leo. It's easy to cross that line. And that's the thing about, with great power comes great responsibility. It's learning how to check one's own power and stay within the boundaries of like loving ways of being, as opposed to just going totally berserk with power. And that can be disorienting, because it now forces you, Leo, yourself to have a whole new perspective of yourself that you've never really known before. So this could be very, very enlightening for you. With the Hanged Man here, it might not be a very welcome feeling to realize that you're on the tippy edge of your own awesomeness, where you could abuse that awesomeness for self-gain. But it's important to know that, because if you didn't know that, you could easily slip over the side, over the edge, and become the oppressor, and then all of this falls apart. Okay, the awesome version of Leo becomes the abusive version of Leo. And that's not cool. Nobody would want that, not even you. That would undermine all your potential love and ambitions moving forward. So this could be disturbing for you, but it's good that it's here, because you need to know this, Leo. Okay, let's keep going. What happens, like, let's say you get all fired up, you make your decisions. Let's hope they work out. What happens if they don't? Boom. Okay, well, it could indicate that, with the Three of Swords here, actually, it's funny, this has come up a few times in the readings. This is not a love reading, okay, Leo? This is just general energy. We're talking about the energy of feeling broken in heart, not because you lost a loved one or whatever. It's more to do with, like, let's say, the breaking of the heart, and perhaps in ways that need to happen. In other words, you make bold, brave decisions with all the best of intentions, and right on the tippy edge of what's best for everybody versus what's best for you. And that's a very, very, very difficult juggling match inside of yourself. Okay, Leo, which puts you at the very tippy edge limit of being able to honor your highest levels of loving integrity. And so it could put you in a position where, in order to honor the integrity and independence of others, it could mean the breakup and splitting of pre-existing things that were already well established and comfortable, but are now need to be released and let go in such a way that it might feel very painful to you. However, it's like what should be, because it's the most noble way to be, the most gracious, loving way to be. And it could be very painful for the other too, but it would be appropriate. In other words, I hope I make the right decisions, so that if this issue of pain and suffering that has occurred or being tolerated, let's say in this environment for a long time, is now fully exposed. In other words, let's say you've been living it like this for a long time and it's worked really well, but through November, you're realizing that there's a lot of this that is now being exposed, and it needs to be acknowledged and dealt with, like released and forgiven and moving on, so that it's like you can create independence and release for yourself, and independence and release for another, which is actually very, very liberating. It's extremely noble, magnanimous, and generous, as opposed to forcing this to stay like this. In other words, there's no point in living like this if this is the reality, because the reality is that this breaking up and opening of the heart could be exactly the lesson that you need to learn, Leo, in order to evolve and mature in matters of the heart. So that's, please consider this as a blessing, Leo. Okay, let's keep going. Where does this lead us all? Okay, to the point of like stalling out. This might be so overwhelming for you in such a way, Leo, that you might not want to acknowledge what's happening. You might want to withdraw. In other words, being at that very, very tippy edge of yourself, meeting yourself, your own awesomeness, meeting your own, let's say, shadow version of your awesomeness where it's over the top and too much. It puts you in this very, very awkward position with yourself where the desire, the natural desire, would be to maintain this for always and forever because it's worked so well for so long. And yet here we are realizing that there's a whole other thing that's going on in the background which needs to be exposed and released. And this is the new reality. And the new reality puts you in a position where you have to make very profound, life-changing decisions, which are actually decisions that you would rather not make, because the making of the decision puts you poised at the extreme realization of your new self and the admission and opening up of like say broken heart energy that might have been suppressed or denied or buried for a long time. But it needs to be known, it needs to be understood, it needs to be learned as part of your own unfolding, because it's like this can't be stopped. This is just how it is. And all we're doing is exposing it as a little story to help you understand as this unfolds. So this might be very rattling for you, Leo, in some ways, but it could also be extremely liberating for you and for others as well. Okay, so maintain your nobility, Leo. Maintain your highest levels of integrity, and don't go over the top with it. Be the good monarch. Be the good leader. Be the good ruler. And if this is turning into this, then so be it, and deal with it because you can. Even if you decide for the time being you would like to just defer any big decisions and just sit on this for a while as you digest what's actually happening. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now, Leo. I don't want to bust things up. This is not a love and relationship reading, but it does involve matters of the heart in the way that you would feel it here. Okay, so please make the best of it. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising. If you want that scarf raffle ticket, it's up there in that little button at the top. You click the button. And I'll just put this back here for you. See this all as an amazing opportunity to grow in new ways, okay, for you, Leo, and allow others to grow and live their life in new ways. Basically, the theme here is live and let live in very, very bold, courageous ways. Okay, all the best, Leo. Bye-bye.